So first of all, let's see an example of the logical operator and we're gonna have, let's say, the speed of a car within towns, and we want to check if that speed is within the legal limits. And in our case, we're gonna have between 30 miles per hour and 80 miles per hour. And so if it is within the legal limits, we're gonna display a message. If it's not, we're gonna display another message. So let's go inside this onCreate method and see how this works. First of all, we have to set up some variables. We're gonna say int speed of car within towns in miles per hour is gonna be 55 for now, and we have lower limit equals 30, and then int upper limit is gonna be equal to, let's say, 80 miles per hour. So right now we have these variables set up, and this is just an example. I'm just gonna leave a comment right now. Example of AND operator. So an example of a case in which we have to use AND operator. And so what we're gonna have right now is we have an if statement, and inside this we have to first say, just as we would check in mathematics, check if this value is between the lower and upper limit. And so in order to do this, we're gonna say lower limit, lower or equal to speed of the car, and lower or equal to upper limit. And so as you can see right now, this should be working, but the only problem is that we're getting this error, and this warning says, as you can see right here, operator lower or equal cannot be applied to boolean int. And what this means is that we are basically using this operator between two variables, and then this operator between this and this variable, and this variable right here is used in two operators, and that's not valid in our case. So we just have to copy this one and paste it right over here. And so right now, as you can see, we have one part of the condition and then another part right here, and we now need to join these two parts. And so I'm just going to use this AND operator. And as you can see right now, this works perfectly, and that's how we should be doing this example. And right now, since we have this check done, we're just gonna display a message on the screen. Car has a legal speed. Okay, and otherwise, we're just gonna go on the else branch and set up a message accordingly. We're gonna say illegal speed within towns. Okay, so we have our messages. Let's just run the emulator and see what's gonna be displayed. So we're gonna see in a moment. Just have to wait until Android Studio builds these things. And so car has a legal speed, as you can see right now, and that's exactly what we expected, because it has a speed of 55 miles per hour. Now if it has something like 155, then we're gonna see that it has an illegal speed. So I'm just gonna show you the other way around how it works, and that's the message that we see on the screen. And also, if you have, for example, if you mistakenly use the OR operator, which is just this one that has, as you can see right here, has these two bars. This is the OR operator. And if you are using that one, keep in mind what your expression means. So at this moment, your expression will be true whenever the speed of the car is gonna be greater than the lower limit or equal to it. And so it should be a number from 30 to infinity. So as you can see, if it's greater than 30, it can be even 30 or somewhere about infinity. And or we have this or operator right here, and we're gonna see what this means. It means that our speed of car within towns in miles per hour is has to be lower than the upper limit or equal to it. So it can be from minus infinity to 80. And so as you can see right now, this means that we need a number. In order to make this condition true, we need a number from 30 to infinity or from minus infinity to 80. And what this means is that our condition will be always true. And so let's see what happens if we have 155, so a speed that would be illegal, and we use this condition right here. So we're gonna run our emulator, and we're expecting to see something um, like the car has a legal speed, and that is because we have a logical flaw in our condition, and that is because we're using this. Now, even if you would have, for example, minus 155, which is not something possible, but still, if you have this number right here, you can see that our condition will be always true. So even if you have this number, it will still say car has a legal speed. So I'm just going to show you again on the emulator, and it is exactly what it says, and that's because we're using the OR operator when we should use the AND operator. So in order to make this work, we should use the AND operator in this case. So this was just one example in which you should be using the AND operator. Also, I'm going to give you an example where we should avoid using OR operator. Now, I'm not saying that OR operator should not be used when you're programming, but I'm just giving you examples in which you should avoid it. And so let's say we have a string, my string, and this is a null string right now. And also just want to make sure that I leave a notice right here. This is the null string. And also if you have a string, let's say my text, which is equal to this thing, this is different from the null string. This is called the empty string. And so that being said, let's check if our string is null or empty. So if it's null or empty, then we have to initialize it. And so that's what we're going to be doing right now. And let's just check for my string. So we're going to say if my string dot is empty, or if my string is, let's say, if it's null. And if you want to check if it's null, we just can do this equals null. And so we're going to display a message on the screen, and we're going to say initialize variable my string. Okay, so let's see how this works. We have this condition, and you will see in a moment why we should not be using this. And I'm running the emulator right now, and as you can see, this is what we got as the message. It says, unfortunately, demo, which is our application, has stopped. And this is because our application crashes, since it says right here, gives us a warning. So I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see what it says. So method invocation, my string dot is empty, may produce Java long null pointer exception. And this is because our string is null, so it doesn't have anything. It's just an object that doesn't exist. So if it's set to null, we cannot call this method to check if it's empty. It's something that doesn't exist, so you cannot use a function on something that is not working. So that's why we get this error and our application crashes. And so in this case, although it would make sense to check for these two things together, we should basically split this in a nested if statement. So we're gonna say, first of all, if it is null, then we're gonna say that we should initialize it. So we're gonna just check right here. If it is null, then just initialize your variable, and if it's not null, we're gonna go on the else statement right now. If it's not null, then if it is the empty string, so we're gonna say my string dot is empty. And so as you can see right here, if it's empty, then again we can just say this thing initialize variable my string. And also I'm just going to say variable is now set to null. Variable is now empty. Okay, so is now set to empty string, to be more specific. Okay, so we're gonna see right now what happens. We have our string set to null, so we're expecting to see this message on the screen, and we're hoping that our application won't crash. So we have to wait until Gradle is building the files, and we're gonna see our application starting, and it says that variable is now set to null. And if I'm just using my text, which is set to this one, or we can just set this as well to um, this empty string. As you can see right now, it is set to the empty string, and we're hoping to see this variable is set now to empty string. So I'm going to run again the emulator, and you can see what happens on the screen, and you will see that it is set to empty string. And now I'm going to give you one more example in which you will see how we can use this OR operator. It's not something we should always avoid. Example of OR operator. Okay, so let's say we have a game, a multiplayer game with only 2 players, and we have Boolean variable to check whether player 1 has won the game. So we're going to say did player 1 win, and we're going to set it to true. And then we're going to have another one, we're going to say Boolean, and then did player 2 win, and we're going to set it to false. Okay, so we're just going to set them to true and false right now, but your application should have this some rules in order to check and set this booleans to true and false. Anyway, one of them will be true at one point, so you will have your game over. And let's say you want to just display game over when some of the players, one of the player has won. So in order to do this, we're going to have this OR operator. We're going to say did player 1 win, or did player 2 win. So in case one of them has won the game, then all you need to do is to display on the screen game over. And so I'm just going to do this right now. And I'm going to run the emulator, and you're going to see this displayed on the screen. We're going to see game over because one of them has won the game. And in this case, it's good to be using this OR operator.